This is the unbelievable true story of how a quiet businessman from Canada helped China steal some of the United States' most advanced military technology, including designs for the F-35 stealth fighter jet. And it all started with a cup of coffee. The arrest. June 28, 2014, Vancouver, Canada. A man named Su Bin steps outside his house, coffee in hand. Before he can take a sip, two unmarked police cars block his driveway. Within seconds, 8 officers surround him. He doesn't resist. He knows why they're there. For years, Su Bin, a mild-mannered aviation parts dealer, had been secretly working with Chinese military hackers. And together, they had stolen over 630,000 top-secret Boeing files, blueprints, radar data, and flight test results for America's most advanced aircraft. He hadn't just stolen files. He had stolen the future of U.S. air superiority. 6 years earlier, in 2008, Su Bin attended an aerospace conference in Beijing. On the surface, he was just another small business owner. His company made simple aircraft wiring harnesses. But behind the scenes, Su was already in contact with 2 Chinese military hackers, known by the codenames UC-2 and UC-3. Their mission: to infiltrate major American defense companies, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman, and steal their military designs. But these hackers needed help. They didn't know who had access to what. That's where Su came in. His charm and industry connections made him the perfect recruiter. At trade shows and conferences, he'd casually befriend American engineers, listening closely when they complained about work, money, or corporate security. Every detail went into what he called cultivation reports: names, emails, job roles, even personality traits. By 2009, Su had identified over 100 employees with potential access to classified systems. His first real target, Boeing's C-17 military transport aircraft, a massive plane that could carry tanks across continents. Through a carefully crafted phishing email disguised as a retirement fund update, the hackers tricked a Boeing engineer into clicking a malicious link. That one click gave China access to Boeing's internal servers. And for the next 18 months, hackers quietly extracted gigabytes of classified data while working overnight during U.S. off-hours. By 2010, Su's team had stolen tens of thousands of design files, saving China billions in research costs and years of development time. But the C-17 was only practice. The real target was Lockheed Martin's F-35 Lightning II, the most expensive and secretive fighter jet program in history, worth over $1.7 trillion. Su created a detailed grid mapping every subcontractor involved in the project, from radar manufacturers to engine suppliers, and pinpointed which ones had weak cybersecurity. He then passed this information to his Chinese hacker partners, who went after smaller, less secure companies that shared data with Lockheed. One by one, they broke in, stealing blueprints for the jet's radar-absorbent coating, stealth geometry, and even the algorithms that allow F-35 pilots to see through the plane using sensor fusion. Over 3 years, Su helped China steal 3.7 million files, totaling 24 terabytes of data, enough to recreate the F-35 from scratch. By 2013, Western intelligence agencies started to notice something disturbing. China's J-20 stealth fighter, then still in prototype stage, suddenly looked almost identical to the F-35. Its shape, canopy, and even radar-evading coating were nearly exact matches. The truth was undeniable. China had used the stolen data to leapfrog decades of military research. But Su's success didn't go unnoticed forever. The FBI, working with the NSA, intercepted suspicious emails sent between Chinese hackers and a project manager known only as Steven Su. The messages contained stolen Boeing file names, screenshots of classified directories, and reports bragging about successful missions. Tracing the digital trail led investigators to an IP address in Richmond, British Columbia, registered to a man named Su Bin. When agents reviewed his travel history, they noticed something chilling. Every time Su attended an aerospace conference in Paris, Dallas, or Seattle, Cyber attacks on defense contractors followed within weeks. The FBI built a timeline connecting his meetings with each breach. By 2014, they were ready to move in. Su's arrest in Canada shocked both Washington and Beijing. And within a week, 2 Canadian citizens living in China, Kevin and Julia Garrett, were arrested by Chinese authorities on false espionage charges. It was a clear message: touch our spies and we'll take yours. China had just launched its own form of hostage diplomacy. For nearly 2 years, the Garretts were interrogated and imprisoned, while Canada debated whether to extradite Su to the United States or negotiate quietly. Eventually, Su realized China had abandoned him. His handlers stopped responding. He was no longer a hero, he was a liability. In 2016, Su Bin made a shocking decision. He agreed to cooperate with the FBI, confessing to helping Chinese military hackers steal U.S. defense secrets. He revealed how he selected targets, translated stolen data, and passed it on to the People's Liberation Army. He confirmed the scope of the theft: 37 defense contractors, including Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Pratt & Whitney. In exchange for his cooperation, Su received a relatively light sentence: 46 months in prison. His confession provided the U.S. with unprecedented insight into China's cyber-espionage network. Aftermath and legacy. Shortly after Su's sentencing, China quietly released Kevin and Julia Garrett, a silent exchange that confirmed what everyone already knew. By the time Su returned to China in 2020, his reputation was ruined. His accounts were frozen, his properties under surveillance. The man who once stole billions in secrets had become an invisible figure, erased by the very country he served. But the damage was permanent. China's J-20 stealth fighter entered full production in 2021. Its design, eerily similar to the F-35, now patrols the skies over the South China Sea. U.S. intelligence estimates that Su's actions accelerated Chinese military aviation by at least 15 years, saving Beijing over $100 billion in development costs. The story of Su Bin is more than just a tale of espionage. It's a warning about the new face of warfare, one fought not with missiles, but with emails, data breaches, and digital manipulation. In the modern world, one stolen file can be as powerful as a nuclear weapon, and as long as there are nations willing to pay for secrets, there will be people willing to steal them. Because espionage today doesn't require a gun or a disguise, just a laptop, a connection, and the right kind of ambition. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Because next, we're diving into another true spy case that changed global security forever.